It's time to dig for more prospects that could make an impact very soon in fantasy baseball. This week, we're going to spend a lot of time out west, at least in the NL West, and we have a clear headliner here. We need to begin in Colorado, where it looks like they are continuing to make some moves. Jordan Beck, not the answer. He's getting sent down to the minors. Zach Veen is finally getting the call. I know a lot of you have been waiting for this. Veen, an exciting prospect, definitely a high ceiling. And I think just in general, let me just say this. We've been waiting for the Rockies to actually do this. We know you're not going to compete, right? There's no contention whatsoever here, no pretense of contention. Thank you for finally promoting some of your prospects and seeing what they can do. They've already started, kind of been active this offseason, actually making a trade or two, right? We've already seen some of the young players and not wasting any time. So Veen looks like will debut for the Rockies on Tuesday. Before discussing Veen, let me also say I did have some high hopes for Jordan Beck. Thought that he would take the job and potentially run with it. A lot of talent there too, but yeah, the plate discipline isn't quite there yet. I'm still optimistic here, but obviously the Rockies aren't feeling the same way. So I'm going to keep an eye on him, but for now, he is down and Veen is being called up. And why not? He's earned the promotion so far in the early minor league season, hitting 387 with a homer and a steal at AAA. Far cry from last year where he hit all of 220 at the AAA level, and that was over 92 plate appearances. Okay, so not a huge sample, but still, wasn't ready, and now maybe he is. For those not familiar with Veen's game, he's got some raw power he has yet to really fully tap into, but even more speed. In 2024, across multiple levels, which included mostly AA and then some AAA at the end, also a little bit of A plus ball, a little bit all over the place, but across 4 levels, he hit 258 with 11 homers and 21 steals in just 270 plate appearances. And let's not kid ourselves, there's extra interest in anybody who's going to play half their games in Coors Field, at least offensive players here. So, look, between Chase Dollander just getting called up and now Veen, the Rockies are pushing an aggressive youth movement. I love it. Let's continue to see it happen. And you know what? Let's go crazy and assume maybe they also give the call to a guy like Adael Amador. Now, this one would make a ton of sense. It would have even if they did it out of camp because, the Tyro Estrada injury left a hole at second base, which is being filled currently by utility men Kyle Farmer and their recent acquisition, Tyler Freeman. And they're holding down the fort pretty well. All right, so there's a pressing need, I guess you could say, especially when, let's just face it again, Rockies have no hope of contention. But why not give a guy like Amador, the keys to the keystone and see what he can do? Amador did get a little sample of the bigs late last season, and it didn't end well. In 36 plate appearances, hit all of 171. And he is still just 21 years old. So, look, the Rockies have a rightful reason to wait a little bit longer on him. I understand that. So, I'm not saying I expect Amador to be up real soon, but it wouldn't shock me if it's a lot sooner than we originally had expected based on what we've seen them do with their roster recently. Amador is off to a decent start at AAA this year, hitting 286. He does have a homer already, scored 7 times, a pair of steals, but really most impressive, 5 walks and only 2 strikeouts. This is a guy who's a slick defender, a switch hitter, who brings a little bit of everything to the plate. So if you're in an NL only league, I think it's time to consider stashing right now if you have some NA spots available. And if you're just in a regular redraft league, let's keep a closer eye here because now all of a sudden I'm almost anticipating a midseason call-up, if not earlier. Another situation where we don't have to wait now. Surprise, surprise, the Dodgers have injuries in their rotation. And so was asked a couple days ago on the live stream who might take the place of Blake Snell. And my first thought was Landon Knack seems a logical choice. And here we go. He's getting the start on Wednesday against the Nationals. He is rejoining the rotation. Now, they also called up Justin Robleski. Not sure exactly what the plan is for him yet. They haven't announced anything, at least. I think he's probably going to be a long reliever, maybe an opener, an extra arm. So I'm going to pump the brakes there. He is also a very interesting prospect, but I'm going to go to Knack here. And I will say that, yes, Knack doesn't have prospect status anymore. I understand that. He pitched plenty last year with the Dodgers, but I don't think we can say that he's broken out. He was solid last year with a 3.65 ERA and a 1.10 whip across 69 innings, mainly as a starter. This year, I can't really say much. He's got one appearance with the Dodgers and one in AAA. But look, we know he's MLB ready. He looked the part last year and now could wind up being a guy they need to stay in that rotation. He posted a WOBA of 304, below league average, a 24% strikeout rate, slightly above league average, and a 6.3% walk rate, which is below league average. That Dodgers lineup behind him could start piling up wins immediately. So I'm not going to tell you to pick up a prospect just because he's a prospect like Robleski or somebody else. Let's go with a guy who is pretty much available in every fantasy league right now. Isn't really a known name outside of Dodgerland, I don't think, and could definitely make an impact right now. All right, time to do a little bit more speculating. A team that has some high-end pitchers waiting in the wings at the AAA level and looks like they might need to call on them is the Minnesota Twins. I remember both David Festa and Zebby Matthews were contenders for the number 5 spot in the rotation, and neither made the cut. They opted to go with their veterans, and I think the Twins might be regretting that decision. Chris Paddock, who has had some decent returns last couple of years, man, I don't know what's going on here, but he might be out very soon. The first 2 starts, he has just gotten knocked around. He's given up 12 earned runs in 7 1/3 innings, 6 walks as opposed to 4 strikeouts. He gave up 3 homers just in his first start alone. I mean, his second start was only better by comparison, but he has had a rough go of it. So Simeon Woods Richardson was also the number 4 starter, who wasn't quite a sure thing in that rotation, but he's got a spot. His first 2 starts, not as bad as Paddock, but that's all I can say. He's got a 5.59 ERA so far after 2 brief and uninspiring starts. So one or both of those pitchers might get another turn or two, a longer leash because they are veterans, but how much longer can they really go? That means I'm going to start paying attention to David Festa and see when he might get called up for the Twins. Now, Festa also doesn't have prospect status anymore because he pitched 64 1/3 innings last year for the Twins, was in there for a good amount of the season, 13 starts on his behalf, and mixed results, right? 4.90 ERA, 1.32 whip. He showed some flashes of brilliance, and then he showed some times where he basically looked like a rookie pitcher. But remember, this was their number 5 overall prospect just a year ago. I mean, the talent is clearly there, and so I don't think it'll be much longer. I mean, sure, it's very early, but again, given how close that he was to making the cut originally out of the gate in spring, I don't think it's going to be too much longer before he gets another crack instead of Paddock. Unless that goes to Zebby Matthews first. Zebby Matthews has only 1 start so far this year in the minors, but it was 5 scoreless innings. Now, Matthews also got a taste of the bigs last year. It went even worse than Festa, though. I mean, a 6.69 ERA and a 1.65 whip. Not what you want to see from one of your other top pitching prospects. But I will say, not just being overly optimistic here and trying to paint this picture prettier than it is. Overall, his numbers weren't that bad. In fact, walks were definitely not an issue. Only 6.3% walk rate. It's the expected slugging and the extra base hits he tend to give up in bunches. A 532 X slug, and well, homers weren't necessarily the problem. Sometimes he would run into trouble and just kind of unravel. And his ratios, to some extent, are inflated because of one really especially bad start he had against Toronto, where he gave up 9 runs in 2 innings. Now, he didn't go deep into games a lot, but he really didn't get hit very hard in most of his appearances. I don't think the ceiling is nearly as high for Matthews as it is for Festa, but he's somebody who could be effective. I don't know if he's somebody I would target in a quality starts league because he didn't seem to go as deep into games. They would definitely cap him usually at 5 innings, even when he was going good. So Festa is my first choice here. But again, let's see about the Twins. Maybe Matthews will be the one who gets the call first. And then coming back to the NL West, one more player I had to add in here because Tim Tawa of the Arizona Diamondbacks is already up. Now, this is not a name that was really on the radar for a lot of people. I can just fully admit here, I had to look up Tim Tawa. He barely makes the top 25 prospect list for the Diamondbacks because he's prospect number 25. But with Ketel Marte on the IL with a hamstring issue, they need some help. I know the quick assumption was Jordan Lawler. Nope, they want to give Lawler some more time, and we'll come back to Lawler when it feels like the Diamondbacks are actually going to give him another shot at the bigs. But right now, it's Tawa, and look, he has earned this promotion as well. In his first 6 games at the AAA level this year, he was hitting .391 with 3 homers and 12 RBIs in 6 games. And you know what? His first couple of games with the Snakes, already 1 for 4 with an RBI and a run. This is not necessarily your prototypical second baseman, and in fact, he's really more of a utility guy. He can play all around the field, which is good. He brings versatility on the defensive side. As far as offense goes, he's more of a pull hitter. He's got some power. Not a slugger per se, but definitely somebody who's going to lead more with power than speed. And his time up with Arizona may be short. Now, most people are hoping it is short because that means that Marte would be back. Hamstring issues can be tricky, so let's see what happens here. Now, I wouldn't recommend adding Tawa outside or very deep leagues. Of course, if you have Marte and he's on your IL and you really don't see any more appealing options, you know what? Maybe give this guy a chance just because you haven't heard of him. It looks like he's been doing very well offensively at the higher levels. And now that the Diamondbacks feel like he is ready to be in the lineup, he might take that opportunity and run with it. And he will get an extended look here because manager Torey Lovullo has already said he's going to be the main starter at second base while Marte is nursing that hammy. So always keeping an eye out for all the latest call-ups and pickups that you should be making in fantasy. We want to stay one step ahead of the competition here. If you didn't catch the waiver wire video from this past weekend to know who you should be picking up right now, it might not be too late. Check it out.